A beautiful good morning to all our people, wherever you're watching us from. We want to welcome you to Beyond the Headlines on Freedom Square TV. And of course, Freedom Square TV is reaching you from our Enugu studios. And like I always say, Enugu is the capital of Southeast Nigeria. Beyond the Headlines on Freedom Square TV is a program where we do not just report the news. What else do? We interrogate issues shaping our society. My name is Tiluche Nasrelanoke, and I'm your host. Today, we turn our attention, a very good attention, to a sector that quietly, but most powerfully, shapes knowledge, culture, education, and national consciousness. And that sector is the publishing ecosystem. The Nigerian Publishers Association, NPA, was founded over 6 decades ago, actually in 1965, at a time when Nigeria was finding its voice as an independent nation. Books, journals, newspapers, and learning materials were central to nation building, literacy, and of course, identity formation. Over the years, the NPA has served as an umbrella body for book publishers in Nigeria, advocated as it were for intellectual property rights, promoting reading culture, influencing education policy, and providing a platform for Nigerian stories to reach both local and global audiences. At 60, the association stands at a crossroad. Just 2 weeks ago, or thereabouts, the NPA celebrated its 60th anniversary, what they call the Diamond Anniversary. And it was actually a red carpet reception in the background. People from all walks of life were there, publishers of all manners were there, development specialists were all there. And the issue is, to what extent has the NPA been able to live to its the dream of its founding fathers? What have been, so to speak, the milestones? What are the challenges? And of course, what are the prospects? On one hand, we can look at notable milestones: indigenous publishing growth, textbook development, curriculum alignment, and regional representation. On the other hand, we must confront serious challenges: piracy, declining reading culture, rising production costs, digital disruption, policy inconsistency, and the survival of local publishers in the globalized market. The question, therefore, is not just where has NPA been? The big question is, where is it going? To help us examine these issues deeply, we are being joined this morning by a respected voice in the Nigerian publishing ecosystem. He's actually the Deputy President, East, of the Nigerian Publishers Association. He's a seasoned publisher, actually the Managing Director of Alliance Publications, based here in Enugu, a former board member of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, and a book marketing expert by excellence. All his life, he spent a lot of time marketing books across Nigeria and West Africa. And so this morning, it's our pleasure to welcome Sir Jesse Odu to Beyond Headlines on Freedom Square TV. Jesse, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for bringing me here.
Okay, so thank you for joining us on Freedom Square TV. Sir, 60 years ago, in Ibadan, so to speak, the NPA was founded. And not just a section of Nigeria, but people across the nation. Can you refresh our viewers as to who were the early founders of the NPA?
Thank you very much. I would want to go straight to that question. It will not be out of place to say that an Igbo son, late Chris Okibo, was the person that mooted the idea of the formation of NPA. And then some other people took it up. And by 1965, NPA was given birth to. We had the pioneers who started this. Our man here in the East, Tabanse, who started publishing in 1953, was one of them. We had Oni Bonanje, Ilesami, and some other great Nigerians who felt that it was time for us to start publishing locally instead of getting all our materials from abroad, especially Britain. Thank you.
Okay, from your perspective, what would you describe as the most significant milestones of the Nigerian publishing industry and the particular Nigerian Publishing Association since its formation, taking into account issues of literacy and education, issues of digitalization of the industry, and issues of intellectual property, among others?
The Nigerian Publishers Association has really achieved great milestones. I want to start by saying that the association has been promoting literacy in education by providing materials that has been the bedrock in the education sector. But without books, there wouldn't be any good transfer of knowledge. The NPA, since the past 60 years, has been in the business of ensuring the provision of high quality and affordable learning materials all over the nation. That is one of the major milestones we have achieved. Now, not just providing learning materials locally, but equally providing jobs, because these were things that were provided by outsiders. But right from the past 60 years, these jobs have been indigenized. A lot of publishing houses have sprung up all over the country, providing a lot of job opportunities, training opportunities to our people. And then the NPA seized the opportunity of the indigenization policy by buying into the foreign companies like Macmillan, Evans, Henneman, and so on and so forth. Now they are owned by Nigerians, run by Nigerians, and creating a lot of opportunities for Nigerians.
And in the race of intellectual property, what has been the milestone? One of the issues that have bedeviled the publishing industry is the issue of piracy. And so, what has been the effort of NPA all these years to combine the piracy? Has it been able to liaise properly with the Nigerian Booksellers Association, the Nigerian authors, and of course, the mother of them all, the agency that has the responsibility to protect, which is the Nigerian Copyright Commission, which at the time you were a board member?
Thank you very much. Another milestone I'll have to say that the NPA has attained is having a very good collaboration with the NCC, Nigerian Copyright Commission, a body that has been instituted to provide a framework to checkmate or to regulate and guide the industry. Since the inception of the NCC, the NPA has always been very closely working with NCC. The NPA has had a very good working relationship with the NCC. And at the moment, the current DG of NCC, Dr. John Assain, has been very helpful in this mandate.
But beyond that, can you recount briefly any specific interventions, collaboration with NCC, in which piracy was physically fought? It's not just saying you've been fighting. Have you been able to make some arrests? Have you been able to make some convictions? Have you been able to bust these pirates in their hideouts, whether it is in Ajegunle, whether it is in Yaba, whether it is in Naba, or where? Because all talk and no action, as they say in Nigeria, will amount to nothing.
There has been so many raids carried out by NCC in collaboration with NPA with a view to stamping out, or to a very great extent, reducing piracy in the EcoBook system. Now, in several flashpoints in Nigeria, raids were carried out.
Which areas are the
flashpoints? Aba area, to be precise, is a flashpoint. Ajegunle in Lagos is another flashpoint. Ibadan and Kano.
Are you excluding Onitsha?
And Onitsha. Most importantly, Onitsha. In the past, raids have been carried out in all these flashpoints after so many efforts to making these people know the dangers of piracy failed. Then that was when we swung into action with NCC to now bring them to their knees. Sometime in the year 2018 or 2019, a very serious raid was carried out in Aba, where international pirates who take publishers' books to China and to India to print and bring into the country and start distributing. That syndicate was busted through a combined effort of the NPA, the NCC, the DSS, the police, and the military. And that singular raid in Aba dealt a very debilitating blow on the pirates, that some of them were not able to withstand the effect on them. Because after some time, because of the huge amount they borrowed from banks to get into that importation, which eventually was seized, they couldn't leave.
And then more than 10, 15 containers, how many containers were?
Then over 15 containers were seized, running into over ₦1 billion then. It was a very colossal loss on them. In the same vein, in Lagos, within the period too, very big pirates in Lagos were hit. I want to be specific here. There's one young man called Obinna incidentally an Igbo man. He borrowed money from the bank, collected a lot of money from his fellow traders, imported more than 10 40-feet containers into the country. At the end of the day, the NCC, NPA raided the place with the help of even the Navy, the Air Force, the DSS, the Army, the police. The whole warehouse was evacuated of these illicit books. As the case may be, the guy out of heart attack died shortly after that raid.
That's tragic. That's tragic.
Then in Onitsha, we discovered that not actually booksellers entered into importing pirated books into the market. Those in the textile business were doing it and bringing it in, and now using the traders, the booksellers in Onitsha to distribute the material. So we have always been on their trail. Then recently, there was a very successful raid in Ibadan that resulted into the seizure of over 445 point something million naira worth of pirated books that came into the country. These things have been happening.
I'm curious about something. Why do they pirate these books instead of buy from the publishers? Is it because their prices are too expensive or what?
Now, irrespective of the high dollar rate to the naira, these criminals still find it attractive to do because, number one, we have the staff in the publishing sector to pay. We have the authors to pay royalty. We have a lot of other costs which they don't bear. And again, due to lack of infrastructural and social amenities in the country, especially electricity, it becomes very expensive comparatively with what happens in those countries, with what happens in Nigeria here. It becomes very expensive for us to produce. An average publisher runs mostly on diesel and generator, which is very expensive to maintain. These are some of the issues. And these pirates are not really doing anybody any good. Both those who gullibly patronize them and those who and the industry itself. Because what should have come into the country, into the covers of the government, through the publishers in the name of tax, eluded the government. So anyhow you look at it, it is an ill wind that blows no one any good.
Okay, let's just leave piracy a little bit, and that's part of the achievements of NPA, collaborating with both even the customs. Yes, of course I know the customs, the military, the DSS, the police, and other agencies to combat. But it's part of that, piracy still persists. Okay, but overall, what would you say is the biggest achievement of the publishing industry within 16 years? I was thinking about the issue of the fact that every man that's educated in Nigeria, every man that's a leader in Nigeria, every person of any profession had to consume the product of publishers. You cannot be anything in Nigeria. Your children cannot even become what you want them to become. And so, what would you say, especially, is the biggest achievement of the publishing industry in Nigeria within the past 60 years?
In the past 60 years, I want to say, without any fear of contradiction, that the publishing industry has trained through the provision of instructional materials, trained the leaders of this nation.
In fact, they are trained the nation.
In fact, that is true. It has trained the nation. Because without education, there wouldn't be any development. There wouldn't be any leadership. Through education, which comes through the provision of instructional materials, our leaders, our children have been trained and developed to steer the affairs of the nation.
Okay, those are your achievements and they're still ongoing. Let's talk about challenges. We cannot talk about achievements, what you've done, without talking about those obstacles that you have, you cross and you are still crossing. So what would you say are the major challenges facing the publishing industry in Nigeria now?
Now, first of all, I want to say that the government, to a great extent, has not really helped matters here through policy somersaults, through inconsistencies in policy formulation and implementation. This has really dealt with industry. A situation where a system has been put in place without giving it chance to run, to see whether it will really serve the purpose for which it was established. Before you know it, that policy is changed. This has been the bane of the publishing industry. If the government brings a policy, it should give it some time to test it. And before you even make a policy, you should think very well. It is not good when you bring a policy today, tomorrow you change. It is an index of the fact that the people that have been saddled with churning out educational policies have not really been doing good research to that effect. That is why we have this policy instability.
Okay, that's one. But what you explained, piracy will actually be another part of the challenge. How is this now affecting the industry now? The other one was how you fought it. But how does it now eat into the industry? What's the effect of piracy on the publishing industry?
I will not be far from the truth if I say that as we speak today, that over 60% of the book market in this country is in the hand of pirates. So,
who is a pirate? Before you go further, who is a pirate?
A pirate.
Who is a pirate?
A pirate is somebody who takes a published work of a publisher
or even an
author, takes a sample of it, goes to reproduce it illegally without the authority of the copyright owner. He just goes to reproduce it, replicate it, without following the due process, and then putting it into the market for commercial use.
So you could rightly say that pirates are intellectual thieves.
They are intellectual property thieves.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about finance. How undercapitalization, how is this a challenge to the publishing industry?
First of all, I would want to say that the government and the society have been paying a lip service to the provision of instructional materials to our children. Now, the provision of finance to this sector has been lacking. We need very good financial base to serve in this sector. We need soft loans. We need grants from the government, knowing the crucial role this sector plays in the development of the nation. When you look at this country today, the professors you see in different universities, in different sectors of the economy, are products from this crucial industry, the publishing industry. But when they get into high government places, they forget the system or the sector that made them. Nobody talks about any grant in any form that will be extended to publishing. Banks, in any way, if they give out any grant or any loan to publish, it is at a very high interest rate, which makes the industry very unattractive. And you know that in the industry, we don't really publish to have a high profit margin. We publish to make sure that books, instructional materials are available to all and sundry at an affordable rate. But with what is happening, it has become very, very difficult for us to operate under the present circumstance.
Yeah, let's just take a short break. When we come back, we'll go back to the issue of reading culture and its implications.
Not everything makes it into the headlines, but we bring you the full story. Join Uchenna Cyril Anyoke, a renowned media personality and former president of the Nigerian Publishers Association, as he unpacks the real issues behind the news, from politics to public policy, economy to human rights. Nothing is off limits. Expert guest, in-depth conversation, local and global perspective. New episode every week on Facebook and YouTube. Watch now on Freedom Square TV. Follow for updates and behind the scenes clips. Beyond the headlines, beyond the news.
You are still watching Beyond the Headlines on Freedom Square TV, and we're still reaching you from our Enugu studios. Just before we went on that short break, Sir Jesse, I was asking you about the reading culture. What we perceive as the dwindling of reading culture in Nigeria, and how does this affect the industry, and how is NPA responding to this challenge?
Actually, the reading culture in Nigeria is very poor presently. Very, very poor. To the point that the white man says that if you want to hide any information from a Nigeria,
Is it in Africa?
I should put it.
This is the black man. This is the Nigeria in particular.
You should put it in a book. So that is how bad the reading culture has been. Coupled with the fact that the internet has not done us any good as per reading culture. Facebook, TV, social media, and so on and so forth.
I thought they are just helping the industry.
They are not helping out so well, because in most cases, what attracts the youth in the social media space is not anything that will give them knowledge. It's film and a lot of other irrelevant things that don't really improve on the intellect of our people. At the moment, the industry has been researching into why our children, because if you want to improve the reading culture, we have to start from the rudiments. We have to start from the scratch. We have to start from the children of the school age. Where the NPA has been researching into that, and we are coming up with one type of books that these children read to make it attractive for them. For those that, for storybooks, literature text, to make it very, very attractive for the children to fall in love with reading. When you give a little child a little book that is captivatingly interesting in its storyline, when that child finishes one, he will want to read another one. Before you know it, you have caught his attention to reading. You have given him a different mindset towards reading. Apart from that, we have been advocating and establishing book clubs in schools, donating books to schools, to some centers that have been created to teach the children and encourage them to read. So these are some of the things we have been doing, and making sure that irrespective of publishing to make profit, we make these books available. Because if you look at the cost of locally produced good books with very good quality, if you look at their prices and the prices of those imported from abroad, you find a very high difference. You see that the ones we have produced here are very much lower in price.
Okay, let's talk about the effect of paper, printing and distribution of these books. How do they affect the industry?
That is the big question. In the past, we had some local paper mills. The Okwiboku, the Wopi paper mill,
Jeba.
the Jeba paper mill, and so on and so forth.
What are they now?
But right now, none of them is functional, which leaves us to importing all the raw materials, which you know that paper is about 80% of, which leaves publishers with importing it from abroad with the high exchange rate.
How does it affect the industry?
Definitely, for anybody to weather this storm and publish with this high cost of paper being imported from outside Nigeria, it's not easy for many publishers. Some publishers that can't afford it have closed shop because of this challenge.
Okay, this is a digital age. This is a digital era. The age of ebooks, the age of audiobooks, the age of online platforms, and AI-generated content. They are changing the publishing landscape globally. How is Nigeria adopting, or Nigeria publishing industry adopting to these changes? And what's the role of NPA to get published through this transition? Because, of course, people now write textbooks using AI. So how is this affecting the industry?
The present system that is coming up in the publishing of books. NPA has been trying to grapple with it, but let us not lose the fact that these things are driven by infrastructure. Nigeria is not ripe for some of these things. And then,
if it's not joined, they will be left behind.
Definitely. But let us look at this. Sweden was the first country that started talking about ebooks and
using digital platforms.
Good. And urged other nations to follow suit. But it will interest you to know that they have gone back to books, knowing fully well or having found out through research that the best way to train the children is through books. They learn better through books and not through e-books, through physical books.
Okay, let's look at the prospects of the NPA going forward. And I'll be asking you just a basic question. Looking ahead, what should Nigerians expect from the NPA in the next 10 years? What reforms, partnerships, or policy? Okay, what do they expect?
Being an association or organization that is saddled with the provision of high quality textbooks and instructional materials for our learning population. NPA is doing a lot to ensure that within the next 10 years that Nigeria will compete very favorably in the international book industry. Having had some of its best minds in the World Publishing Association, the International Publishing Association, and the African Publishers Network, who bring back to us in Nigeria the best practices within the publishing industry to impact on Nigeria.
My father was actually not a rich man, he was a wine tapper. And so it was difficult for me to buy books, but there was the central library just before you go to, before Holy Ghost. That was where we went. That was where every morning you just go to read books, borrow books, and what your parents couldn't afford, you'll find them there. Those places are dead. So speak to the government of the Southeast and then Nigeria about the importance of reestablishing, whether it is e-library, whether it is physical library, but the importance of library in the book ecosystem.
Thank you very much. The importance of community library, state libraries, school libraries should not be overemphasized. All of us benefited immensely from this. Most of us who, like you rightly said, whose parents couldn't afford to give all the books they needed in schools, avail themselves of the opportunity of using public libraries and school libraries to have those things. I am a product and a beneficiary of this system. Unfortunately, I wouldn't want the government to misunderstand me if I say that they have been paying lip service to education, especially here in the Southeast or in the former Eastern region. We used to have all these public libraries well equipped. But right now, if I tell you that in the past 10 to 15 years, no single book has been stocked in these libraries.
Do they still exist?
If they actually exist. So it is a very, very serious issue. And this, apart from reading, apart from availing our children the opportunity to have books they cannot afford or whose parents cannot afford, these libraries engaging our young minds, take them away from danger and from crime. It plays a very great role in reshaping the children and the society. My take here is that government should revive the public library system, ensure that the libraries are well manned by the right personnel. They should be well manned by the right people, and current books should always be provided in the libraries. Books, general books, textbooks, and the journals, and so on and so forth should be there. And once those libraries are well stocked, you will see our students, right from primary to university level, go in there to do their reading and researches. And you will see what impact it will make in the education sector and in our society at large. This will, to a great extent, reduce the time they waste on Facebook and TV. Then apart from that, when we build very fine schools and there are no libraries, we have not done justice to the sector. When these beautiful schools are built, I know that all over the East now, especially here in Enugu State, the governor is building smart schools, but I've not seen any integration of the school libraries.
Have you visited any of them?
I have. So,
I think some of them have digital libraries.
They have digital
Maybe
libraries,
hybrids,
but they need books. They need physical books. And when you talk about digital libraries, these things are internet powered. Do we have such facilities in our rural areas? It's like in the banking sector. You talk about e-banking, and you expect somebody in a rural area where there are no internet facilities, where there are no networks to thrive. It will not. So we need a combination of the two. If this one doesn't work, the other one will work. Then, like here, we have about 260 watts. I would suggest that we have community libraries. Community libraries. If it is very difficult for the government to do, well-spirited individuals and organizations should be approached to partner with the government in ensuring the equipment of these libraries with modern and current books and instructional materials.
Okay, suggest you do want to thank you for sharing your insights with us this morning on Beyond the Headlines. You've done a great job trying to explain to us the achievement of the NPA, the challenges they faced, and the prospects of their existence. So thank you very much for finding time to be here. And to our viewers, let's remind you that as the Nigerian Publishing Association's marks 60 years, one thing is clear. The future of publishing industry is inseparable from the future of education, culture, and national development. The question is not whether publishing will survive, but whether Nigeria will invest enough to allow it to thrive. Thank you for watching Beyond the Headlines on Preneur TV. You can continue this conversation on Facebook or YouTube at Freedom Square TV. Join us tomorrow, same time, for yet another interesting edition of Beyond the Headlines. And if I must give you the expo, we're bringing the chairman of the Association of Nigerian Authors here in Enugu tomorrow to complement the ideas espoused by the Deputy President of Nigerian Police Association in charge of the East, Suggestion. Once more, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And do have a great day ahead.